Welcome back to my shed. This is where I repair and make all sorts of bits and bobs for classic cars, motorcycles and machines. In this video, I've been asked if I can make some modified adapter studs to replace the ones from this kit. These are the items that require a little modification. They're identical in all but body length. Out of the box, they're roughly half an inch diameter, and each have an 8mm by 22mm deep tapped hole in one end and a 6mm by 22mm long screw on the other. My task is to put a 1/4 inch BSF screw in place of the existing 6mm one. To do this, I'm going to cut the screw first and then the 8mm hole. I'm doing it this way round because the screw is harder to do than the hole. As you know, a tap runs straighter than a die, and a die will always do its best to run offline. So if I screw up this end first, no pun intended, I wouldn't have wasted so much time or material. And before you start giving me earache about having a newly rebuilt Imperial lathe, the reason I can't use that is because I've already got something cooking on the 3-jaw chuck, and I'm not prepared to take that out just to do a stud adapter. What you see here is some medium 1/2 inch round bar. It's sticking out enough to do the first end and then part it off. Obviously, if it goes wrong here, all I do is chop it off and move the bar out a little more and start again. Here I'm making sure that I hit the 250 thou size. To put a radius on the shoulder, I used a sharp positive edge 5mm button tool. And to prevent running into the thread diameter, I set my cross slide to 0 against a cigarette paper. The edge of the cutter was presented to the side of the shoulder face, and the main slide index wheel was set to 5mm. To get the radiuses, I plunge cut to depth -2 thou until the last facing cut, then I traversed off the screw at full depth. A 45-degree tool prepped the screw thread and deburred the body. To help with the cutting forces, I used a very good anti-seize compound. I'm not going to tell you how many practice threads I buggered up before I got this one right. Let's just say that my vocabulary became severely soiled. I know this because my wife handed me a mug of hot water and a bar of soap. I remember when I used to earn a living many years ago, the guys on the boring gang used to scoff at the bar lathe operators because if they dinged a job, it just got binned. If a borer dinged a job, we had to be inventive. Anyhow, why did I end up screwing up the first few 1/4 inch threads? Well, that's because I used a die with a chip in one of the cutting edges. I didn't know it was chipped. All I know is that the threads were coming out the wrong shape. They were straight, but munted. After finally discovering this anomaly, I got my supplier to send me another die, and now all is well. This bit of bar externally is all ready to size, and some of it is going to be knurled, so rather than machine it, I simply gave it a quick ragging with some coarse emery cloth, then parted it off to just slightly longer than required. For this I used a high-speed steel cutter and stepped the cut to give the swarf somewhere to get out, not that it needed much room of course. After locating where the material disappeared to, I put it back in the chuck and faced it off, and after deburring it, I shoved a centre drill into it to give me a head start with the 6.8mm tapping drill. You'll notice I've put a small silver mark on the drill bit at 23mm from the end. I've done this as a visual aid to help prevent me from burying the drill bit too far into this, the shortest adapter, because if I drill another 2mm too deep, I run the risk of drilling right through to the 1/4 inch threaded bit at the end, and that's definitely not a smart move. I know I can use the rule on the tailstock, but I prefer to keep it simple. I used the same high pressure anti-seize compound on this 8mm taper number 1 tap, just in case. The tap was held in place by a spring-loaded tap follower. I used a spanner or wrench to turn the chuck via the jaws and a tap wrench held by hand to hopefully prevent breaking the tap as it strikes the bottom. While using the second and third tap, I used General Oil to provide a simple cutting medium. The third tap obviously provided the required internal thread length to the bottom of the hole. I can feel some of you cringing at me for using an airline instead of a wiper at my workpieces while they're in the chuck. And although it's not really a good idea to do this, I've done it all my life. My old gaffer would want to know what I'm effing playing about at if he ever saw me wiping swarf off my work with a wiper. He would say something like, "You ain't paid to polish it, lad, use the bloody airline." The foremen them days said it how they meant it. After moving the material further out of the jaws, I could knurl the last ½ inch. I can't knurl the whole body because I don't have a centerless knurling tool. There we are, job done. After I'd done all three, I blackened them by heating them up to just off blue and quenched them in boiled linseed oil. They're not perfect, but they'll do. That's it for this short video. Thanks for watching and bye for now.